Do you still remember the day you shot the curb stomp scene?
On the day, I remember doing it once, and the rubber head of the dummy rebounded into the curb and rolled down the street, and everybody was laughing.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
I'm going to jump into this. There is that old saying that there's three sides to every story. You got your side, my side, and the truth. And I'd love to talk about, as an actor, how you decide what the truth is, because I know years after the events of this movie, Pete wrote Bob Dylan like a postcard claiming that he was misunderstood at Newport in 65 and he was trying to help with the sound quality. And then when he was quoted about taking an axe to the cables, it was just because of the sound. So I'm sort of curious, when you're presented with so many different sides to one moment in history, how do you as an actor decide what the truth is?
That's an interesting question. I mean, in this case, Jim Mangold, as our director and writer, I think had to ultimately be the adjudicator of how he wanted to present it. But it was certainly a dialogue. We all talked about it. I talked to Peter Yarrow about it, who was there, from Peter, Paul and Mary, who was there. I talked to Pete Seeger's daughters and his older daughter, who was in her teens and was standing there when it happened, and actually, I think that the urban myth that he grabbed an axe and tried to do it has long been dispelled by anyone who was there. I actually think I'm going to go so far as to say I think the way we presented it is very close to what I would say we triangulated from the Rashomon of different people. And I don't want to, ruin it for those who haven't seen it. But I think we felt a pretty good comfort that we were close to the essence of what really happened.
It's handled very well. Obviously, speaking of Pete, Bob was surrounded by people who kind of all thought that they knew what was best for him. And ultimately, he ended up having to go his own path. And even if it went against the advice and the wishes of a lot of people in his inner circle, I'd love to know, if you don't mind, looking back over your career, what is the piece of advice you're most glad you did not listen to?
That I didn't listen to. That's interesting. I remember having some pretty strong admonition from certain people that I should do a much more commercial movie instead of American History X, when we were doing it. Something that was, sort of young lawyer in a suit type thing. It was something that was perceived as a bigger film, and I knew I wanted to make American History X. My friend David, who wrote it, and we knew what we wanted to do with it, and I also felt it was at a time I felt I didn't. I felt I still had the. I felt I still had the freedom to expand my own horizons and not get put in a box, in terms of the way I was perceived as an actor. And but that sounds like external. I mean, mostly I just wanted to make that film. I really wanted to make that film. I had a conviction that it was about something that was worth expressing, and I'm glad I didn't listen to careerists.
Honestly, so am I. Do you still remember the day you shot the curb stomp scene?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the whole thing was very vital, and we were in a very focused gear and stuff like that. Although there's things people, of course, when you put the sound of teeth scraping in, when you do the sound mix, it makes it on the day. I remember doing it once, and the rubber head of the dummy rebounded into the curb and rolled down the street, and everybody was laughing. So it's like, there's always like the humility of the artifice, and sometimes you have a laugh in the darkest moments.
They're pulling me out of here, man. I just want to say thank you so much for just not just this performance, which I think is one of the most beautiful performances of the year, but just a lifetime of incredible performances that continue to remind me of why I love movies, man. I'm such a big fan of yours, and you've been kind to me for a long time. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Good to see you, buddy. Take care.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.